Yeah, thanks for coming to Battenkill Fibers. I'm Mary Jean Packer, and I started the company, 10 years ago now. I'm glad you're here and glad you're interested in hearing what we do to serve a fiber community that's now grown to, darn near all in North America. We specialize in working with locally sourced, sustainably processed fibers. I'd love to show you a tour of the mill. Let's go. So this is the first step in the process where we take a look at pretty much every fiber that comes into the mill. This is Karen, our manager. She's been here ever since August of 2010 and still doesn't have a desk with an air conditioner. She'd rather walk around and do quality control. So she's having a look at this alpaca fiber that we just took in, and we're getting ready to add this to a job we're making for an indie dyer. So this is our wash area. This is Nora, been with us a number of years and does a great job. We wash almost all the material that comes into us. It takes several washes and then several rinses to get it clean enough to be processed. Everything here is pretty minimally processed, and we're also very pleased with the ways in which we dispose of our wastewater. So from here, the next step is we just let this material air dry on these racks. And once it's dry, we'll be ready for the next step. So this is the next step in the process. We're taking the washed and dried fiber and adding a little bit of conditioner, and then we're feeding it into this machine called the picker. This is Tim. He runs the picker, and the carder. He's been with us almost 4 years, and we sure appreciate his attention to detail. It really makes a difference in having a very consistent product that's really well blended. So after the material comes out of the picker, we start it here in the first hopper of the card. And this is a 43-foot journey for material. It comes through here in a series of rollers where it's blended and tumbled and lands in this second bin, which is also just more of opening, blending. It's really good when we work with blends. Right now that's an alpaca wool blend we're putting through, and it really helps to make it more consistent. I bought this machine. You see there's a lot of words in French. I bought it up in Quebec at a carpet mill where they blended wool and nylon. And a wool nylon blend is also really good for sock yarn. And one of the reasons our sock yarn here is fabulous is because of these two hoppers. So from here, it lands on essentially a little scale inside of here. And when all the material is uniformly compressed, it comes out onto this feed table. And it's going to go from the feed table. Those feed dogs are going to grab the material, and it's going to go through a series of a giant roll with workers and strippers, they're called. And it's no different than hand carding. We're just aligning the fibers, only the material's moving around two giant rollers with these sets of workers and strippers. And finally, it comes off here on this doffer, which grabs it off the inside roll and pulls it down onto this table. And at this point, we have batting. So we spin worsted at Battenkill Fibers, and what that means is we're going to gather and condense the fiber right here. Worsted spun yarn is so much softer because it's only combed and condensed. So it's going to feed up here and come down into a coiler, and this is what the material looks like when it comes out. So this is a beautiful example. This is a breed of sheep called a Finn. It's really nice and lofty. It's long and strong. It's all locally sourced. This came from right here in the Hudson Valley. We're making this actually for a yarn store. So we sourced the wool from a farm, and now we're going to spin it for a yarn store, and they're going to dye it in their signature colors. The next step in the process is going through one of our 2 pin drafters. And people who haven't been to visit for a while haven't seen this pin drafter. We just got it 3 or 4 years ago. I'm really pleased with adding a second pin drafter. It's a big part of being a semi-worsted processor. So here's that same beautiful Finn wool that we had shown you at the carder, and it's coming up and out of the can, and then it feeds through these combs here, and that's the part of the pin drafter, the pin part. These combs are set quite far apart because the fiber is pretty heavy that we're feeding in here. The whole while, what we're trying to do is unify and connect. And this is what it ends up looking like. It's in pretty good condition. It's still got that beautiful shine. We're starting to pick out a lot of the pieces of vegetation that didn't come out in the card. So this is our 4-can pin drafter. It was the first machine we had. We actually got this in 2009 before we even had a building, and we salvaged it in the fire and we rebuilt it. So what it's doing is just like at the 2-head, only now it's getting the material very fine. It's just about ready for spinning. This is Barb. And Barb's been running this machine for almost 5 years. And it's her attention to detail that makes our yarn so especially smooth. The job we're running right now is for Wing and a Prayer Farm. It's a yarn we've been making for them for almost 10 years. We call it Taconic Twist. It's a blend of mohair, Cotswold, and some other long wools. It takes the dye beautifully, makes fabulous shawls or scarves, even socks. It's very sturdy because of the mohair, but it's not at all scratchy, and that's because it's going through these combs, which help align the fiber and make it so smooth. This material here is just about ready to spin, and look at how absolutely perfectly consistent that is. That's what makes beautiful yarn, is this process right here, where every yard of this weighs exactly the same as every other yard. And that's going to spin up just beautifully. So this is the material that came from the pin drafter. And now we're going to set up the spinner to run. It's coming through here. Then we'll lock the arm down. And then what will happen is the material will thread through here. And we'll put it on a bobbin. And this table, as it's being spun, this table will rise and fall, filling the bobbin uniformly until we're all the way to the top, and then we'll change the bobbins and keep going. This is our first spinner. We got this right at the time we opened in 2010, and we've been doing work on it ever since. We love it because we can control the rate at which each roller turns by just one gear change. And so why we want that control is it enables us to take the sliver at pretty much any length, any width, and by how much we draft it, we control the weight of yarn we make. We can make this into fingering, we can make this into Aran. And it's all in how fast these rollers are turning with regard to each other. The same with the twisting. We can put a twist in this. It's 3 twists per inch, 8 twists per inch, whatever the customer wants and whatever's best for the fiber. This is a real, look at the shine in this. This is a beautiful border luster. And we'll probably only twist this at 4 or 4.5 twists per inch to keep the yarn strong but still nice and soft. So this is our new spinner. It's built in 1992, but we just got it in the fall of 2018. It runs 108 spindles. And what we love about this is that we're able to make much finer yarn. And with 108 spindles, we can run it really fast. So we can make in a day over 100 pounds of very thin yarn on this, which is great for a couple of new ventures that we're getting into. We're making fabric and making yarn for machine knitted garments. And this machine enables us to do that. It also can put a very tight twist, so if we're working with short staple fibers, the motor and the variable speed drive are new, and that has really helped our energy efficiency. This is the plier, and we can make 2, 3, or 4 ply yarn on this. Right now we're making a 3 ply. This is a 3 ply fingering weight. We make this for the new yarn company, Hudson and West. It's a beautiful Corriedale and Merino blend. I love the 3 ply construction on this. We've had this machine ever since before the fire in the old building, and we keep working on it. These rollers have all been rebuilt because they melted in the fire, and they still give us a great, very consistent product. So this is our skein winder. We can wind up to 10 skeins at a time. We can control the length on the skeins. So the job we're running right now is Foster Sheep Farm. It's a really nice blend of some of their long wools and some fine wools. So one of the most important steps really is making sure that every skein is perfect. So about a half our customers are farmers like Foster Sheep Farm, and they rely on us to get it right. We need every skein to look just like every other skein. So not only is Carol winding these, but she's also doing some quality control. So this is our old cone winder. It's the same machine we've had all along. We're using it a lot more, in fact almost to full capacity now, making these giant cones. They come off of here, we feed it from there. This is going to go to a weaver who does blankets, but could also be yarn used in scarves, and more because of our new spinner, we're making yarn so thin it's going to make woolen fabric to make yard goods. This is another cone winder. It makes a smaller cone like this. And we had to get this when we got the new spinner because we needed to be able to make these smaller cones that we send to machine knitting mills. And they make gloves, hats, socks, and so on with this material. But again, it's still locally sourced and very minimally processed. But it's very exciting to be part of this supply chain going now all the way to finished product just because of this machine's capabilities. So we do 3 kinds of dyeing at Battenkill Fibers. I'll use these pots in different ways. We do what's called dyed in the wool by just putting clean white wool in and dyeing it and drying it and then carding it. And that'll make a yarn that's through and through. It'll be very solid blueberry blue. We do that a lot for yarn companies and yarn stores that want to have a very consistent product, dye lot after dye lot. The second way we dye is we do kettle dyeing. So in this case, this was a plain white skein that we put in the pot with 5 or 6 pounds of other skeins just like it. And you see it's a semi-solid. It's a really nice look, especially on more rustic yarns. And so farmers will often have us spin a whole 20 or 30 pound lot of white or oatmeal colored yarn, and then we'll take it and dye it in 5 or 6 different colors in 3 and 4 pound lots in these vats. We also offer a real custom product, which is hand painted yarn. And this is done something for a yarn store near us. So we can do quite a lot with this small studio. Well, that's it. Thank you for taking the tour, and thank you for supporting Battenkill Fibers. We're proud of our history of locally sourced materials, sustainable processing, and we'd love to work with you.